pair of yoga blocks, a yoga belt, couch cushion, some sort of padding. And we're going to start by stepping all over those tennis balls. Do your best. Try to get them to pop. So shifting your weight front to back, walking up and down on those balls. And I'm holding onto my foam roller just as an additional touch point for balance sake. I can do both feet at the same time. So shift your weight, not only front to back, but also side to side. And just get acquainted with how sore your feet feel tonight. Stepping all over those tennis balls. Shifting your weight this way, that way. And then find a sore spot, or two, one in each foot. Settle onto it, breathe into it. Drop your shoulders, soften your knees, and just really let your body melt on top of those balls. Do your best to keep breathing. Emphasize the exhale. When you exhale, you blow out carbon dioxide, which is acidic. Just like the lactic acid in your tight feet is acidic. So try to blow out some of that stiffness, that soreness. And as we move throughout tonight's class, always try to keep breathing. If you find yourself holding your breath, you've probably gone too far, too deep, too fast. And I would advise you to back off, find a slightly different spot, and do your best to keep breathing. So go ahead, find a slightly different spot, settle into it once again, breathe into it. And then maybe find a third sore spot. And again, deep breaths, emphasizing the exhale. Relaxing your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. And then position the balls so that they're underneath the balls of your feet. And take your toes, wrap your toes over the ball, make foot fists, and then release. You're going to grasp with your toes and then flare. Squeeze and release. A couple more of those. Check in with your breathing. Make sure you're still breathing. One more time. Give a good hard foot fist and flare your toes. And then balls are underneath your balls of your feet. So your heels are down, depending on the size of your feet. Try to waggle from side to side. Not only your hips, but get your feet to roll inside, outside edge. Get your feet to roll from the inside to the outside edge. Again, have that touch point for balance sake so that you can control this. You don't want to sprain your ankle. You don't want to roll too far, too fast to any one side. And then dredge. So think about getting that last little bit of toothpaste out of the tube. You're going to press through the tissue in between the bones of your feet. I recommend 1 foot at a time. So starting with that ball in between the big toe and the next toe, press out, dredge, and then you could drag the other foot along. Press out and dredge, and then reset. In between the next toe, pair of toes, toe ring toe and the next toe, middle toe. Press out, dredge, press out, dredge. You got 2 more of those. So in between the middle toe and the second to last, push out, dredge, push out, dredge. And then finally, between the last 2 toes, pinky toe and its friend. And pinky toe and its friend. And then settle in, this time with the balls underneath your heels up on top of the balls. Your feet are down, your heels are up. And again, give it a little waggle from side to side. And I highly recommend having some stability, some touch for support, so that you can waggle your feet side to side without falling. Knees are soft. And then step off. All right, I'm gonna take one set of toes, pick a side, any side, flip those toes backwards. And breathe. You're in charge of how much pressure you put on that foot. And then make sure you put a bit of pressure on there, but not so much that you hold your breath. And then switch sides, flip the other toes backwards. Do your best to keep breathing. And you're welcome to repeat this or attempt to do both feet at the same time by doing the following. You can turn, I'm turning sideways. You can stay facing the screen. You can put a tennis ball underneath each foot, and you want to be with the toes attached to the foot, with the necks of the toes. And then you sit back on it. That's if your knees allow you to. You don't have to do that. You can be kneeling, you can be on hands and knees, or you can be standing. Decide how much pressure you want on your feet. If you are doing the standing variation, switch sides, start working the other foot. If you are doing the standing variation, you might be able to waggle a little bit, your ankle side to side. And then release. All right, we're gonna set those tennis balls aside. We'll come back to them in a moment. But for now, it's foam roller time. And you're gonna take that foam roller at your ankles, at the ankle joints. Toes are hanging off, right where your short socks end. And sit back. You might be able to waggle, or sway your hips side to side, jogging across the fronts of the ankles. Again, you're in charge of how heavily you sit down on this. You might not even want to be sitting. You might be kneeling, or you might be on hands and knees, shifting side to side. And then from here, we're going to start rolling up and down the shins. Up and down the shins. So you can do the crunch variation, do a little ab workout here, or you could just sit on it and roll back and forth. So choose your own adventure. You determine how hard you want to work this evening. Just massage those shins from ankle to knee, up and down. And then, once again, settle in with your ankle joints over the foam roller. Now you can get fancy with that. And take these tennis balls and tuck them into your knee pits. I'm going to bow forward here, tuck the tennis ball into the knee pit, tuck a tennis ball into the other knee pit, then come to kneeling, maybe sit down on it. Do your best to keep breathing. If you're not crying yet, if you like it rough, you might consider shifting your weight from side to side. Again, side to side is optional. Sitting down all the way is optional. Breathing is not. Whatever you choose to do, though, keep breathing. Again, emphasize that exhale. Blow out the pain. All right. So you can keep working this for another moment or two, but if you've been here for a while and you've had enough of that, you can turn this into a calf stretch by back through one heel and then the other, or go for full downward facing dog and take that dog for a walk. So either you could be in this quadruped pose, pushing through one heel then the other, stretching out your calves, or bottoms up and go for the downward facing dog, pedaling your feet. And then when you've had enough of that, you're going to walk over, sit down, put your legs out in front. We're going to have a seat on that foam roller. So the foam roller goes between or across the butt cheeks. Kind of find that gluteal fold. Kind of lift and separate. Try to get that foam roller right underneath your sit bones. And you can play around with massaging those sit bones. A couple of blocks nearby is worthwhile to help you control this. The arms aren't quite long enough to reach the floor. You need blocks. And then really get into those sit bones, pull the flesh away from the bones. You're going to start working your hips back so the foam roller rolls underneath your thighs. And kind of wiggling, but walking backwards. Holding onto blocks, maybe holding onto your feet. Doing your best to breathe. And then gracefully come back up to sit. And we're going to pick one leg. So I'm going to pick my left leg. Let my right knee bend out to the side. The right knee is bent, the left leg is straight. Got a couple blocks here. If I'm nervous about that knee, I could prop the knee up on a couple of blocks. Break the floor from my knee. Sit up nice and tall. Got a belt nearby. You can lasso that left foot. Shoulders are back and down. Flesh pulled away from those sit bones. I'm going to go for Janu Shirshasana, head to knee pose. So shoulders are back and down, chest is lifted. You're going to pull your chest through your arms. Bear down on that foam roller. Push your sit bones into that foam roller. Make solid contact with the very top of your thigh bone. And then hinge forward. It should give you a good stretch down the back side of that left leg. And you can work your hands down the belt closer to your foot. Or if you've got short enough legs, long enough arms, you might just be able to hold on without a belt. Whatever you choose to do though, try dropping your shoulders away from the ears and lead the way with your heart. Keep pressing those sit bones into the foam roller. And then ease on up. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Switching sides, right leg goes straight. Fill the gap with blocks. Couch cushion, small children, cat, whatever you have nearby. Support that knee. And lasso the right foot. Shoulders back, chest lifted. And advance your chest. At the same time, stick your booty out behind you. If you are a very bendy Wendy, and this straight knee is hyperextending, if it's bending backwards and it's uncomfortable, consider engaging the quadricep. Keep the knee from locking out. So while the name of this pose is Janu Shirshasana, Janu means knee, Shirsa means head. You want to put your head into your knee. Be mindful of your knee. And then slowly come on up. All right. Going to turn over onto your side. We're going to work down the lateral line, the side line. I've got this nice side line stripe on my pants tonight. We're going to work down that side line. So pick a side, any side. Come into your side hip pocket. Do your best swimsuit edition version of this pose. Top leg can be a kickstand in front or in back, whatever you prefer. Bottom leg is straight. I'm going to flex that bottom foot, be on the pinky toe blade edge of that foot, just for fun. Check in with the shoulder. Make sure it shrugs down away from your ears and that hand is underneath the shoulder. Shoulder down away from your ears. Side waist lifted away from the ground. Make it look good. Do your best to breathe. And you can consider tummy down, tummy up. Tummy down, tummy up. If you want more intensity, you stack your legs. Balancing on the knife edge of that bottom foot. A little bit more ab challenge there. Be mindful of that shoulder. If you want, you can come on down to the elbow. That works too. We're going to move along. So scoot your body one way, let the foam roller move the other. Come to the upper third of the thigh. And you have options. You can stand either in front or in back. You can stack, balance on the pinky toe, knife edge of that bottom foot. You can use the top hand to control this. Make sure that bottom shoulder is shrugged away from your ear. If you're a Pilates master, you can also do it with no hands, if that's your thing. And then we're going to move along. So moving your body one way so the foam roller goes the other. Getting to the middle half of the thigh. And at this point, you might consider dropping your hips, taking your load off. You can even relax the upper body completely. It's up to you. Or if you still want to work, if you still need more intensity, the more weight you lift off the ground and put on top of that foam roller, the more intense this move will be. Whatever you choose to do, though, keep breathing. And if you have your hips up off the ground, you can play around with scooching, head to toe. If you have your hips down, scooching doesn't work so well, but rocking front to back does. And then one last spot just above the knee. One last spot just above the knee. And you've got lots of options here. You can have a kickstand, front or in back. Stack your legs. You can still be balancing up on your elbow during like an elbow plank. One side elbow plank. And then release. All right, before we flip over and do the other side, I'm going to take this foam roller out in front of you. So again, you're doing your sideline pose here. Foam roller out in front of you. Top leg comes out on top of it. Starting at the inside of the knee. I'm going to push that knee away and drag that knee in. You're doing some inner thigh, inside of the knee massage. And this leg can hacky sack, helicopter, kick and curl. You can find a sore spot, settle into it, wiggle, move all around. That inner thigh could be exquisitely tender, but you have the option of turning your belly down, getting a slightly different spot. Check in with your shoulders. If you are up on your elbows, make sure your shoulders are away from your ears. So in Chinese medicine, there's meridians or channels of energy that are on the inner thighs that are exquisitely sensitive to fluid balance in your body, hydration, and hormonal change having to do with menstrual cycles and pregnancy. Lots of reasons why this can be very sore. All right. And now we get to switch sides. So when you're doing some of this deep tissue work, you just want to get acquainted with it. You don't want to spend all night. If I like to say, treat it like a first date. Do not spend the night. Just get acquainted. Switching sides. Shoulder down away from your ear, belly pulled in. Can be up on your hand if you like, or down on your elbow. Kickstand can be in back or in front, or stack your legs, balancing on the pinky toe blade edge of the foot, and play around with belly down, belly up. So I'm in that side hip pocket, the side seam of the granny panties, the tighty whities. We're still in the pelvis. In this area, you have a muscle called the Tensor fasciae latae. And it's responsible for helping you hike your hip up. So if you've been doing a lot of belly dancing lately, this outer hip can be very tender. And then moving along. Your body goes one way, the foam roller goes the other. Now we're at the upper third of the thigh. So below the short shorts. You stabilize that shoulder. Make sure the shoulder's shrugged away from your ear, elbows underneath the shoulder. It's actually worthwhile to do some elbow plank type work just to keep that muscle tone that helps hold the arm bone into the shoulder joint. Less likely to dislocate. All right, moving along, halfway between the knee and the hip. This spot is exquisitely tender for most everybody. And you can decide how heavily you want to get up on top of that or not. If you still have only your elbow touching down and everything else is up, you can consider scooching head to toe, rolling up and down. But if you're like me and you bailed out, then you can rock tummy down, tummy up. And then finally, third spot, just above the knee. This little pocket of muscle here, this hip pocket muscle, connects to this long fibrous band of gristle, just like in your turkey drumstick, your chicken drumstick. This long fibrous band of connective tissue. It's called the iliotibial band. It connects your hip bone, your ilium, to your tibia, your shin bone, crosses the knee joint, crosses the hip joint. It's not uncommon for people who have knee issues to have something going on in their hips. All right, and then gonna come over, still lying on the same side. Gonna take this top leg over onto the foam roller and work that inner thigh. Again, you can kick and curl, hacky sack, helicopter, if when you find a sore spot. Just play with it. Again, in Chinese medicine, lots of reasons why those inner thighs are super tender, super sore. In Western medicine, especially if you're a wider hip individual, it's not uncommon for you to have outer knee ligaments that are short and inner knee ligaments that are long. And the kneecap tracks in a weird way because of that. The knee isn't held dead center where it should be. And so this type of foam rolling helps to loosen out the outer knee and hip. And you can determine whether or not you've been working your inner thighs enough. You can also consider turning your tummy down, being on your elbows. And then release. All right, you're gonna come onto your tummy, but actually you're gonna come onto the foam roller. And you're gonna find a pubic symphysis below the bladder, right where your seatbelt is supposed to rest, right at the hip joints. Pubic bone, not your bladder. That's where you're gonna put the foam roller. Right there at the pubic symphysis, right at the hip joint. Elbows beneath your shoulders, shoulders away from your ears, belly pulls up, away from the ground, toes curl under, really tuck those toes under, press back through your heels. Shoulders back away from your ears, belly pulled up away from the ground, press back through your heels. And then you might consider straightening your arms a little bit. By pressing that pubic symphysis into the foam roller. Holding your tummy in, dropping your shoulders down, pressing back through your heels. Abs are strong. Elbows underneath your shoulders, belly lifted up like an elbow plank. All you had to do was lift your hips a micromillimeter off the foam roller and you are in your elbow plank. Let your hips rest on it, but keep that level of ab engagement as if you were still doing a plank, because from here you get to drag up and down. Elbow walk, crawl, forward and backward. Try that with straight legs. Also try it with bent legs. I'm having you do abs because it's good for you. That's a good exercise for those shoulders. Now your elbows are on the mat, so think about driving your elbows towards your ribs like someone's tickling you in the ribs. That's the rib engagement you want. Like someone's tickling you in the ribs. Pull your front ribs up into your body. Pull your belly up off the mat like someone's tickling you. And then when you've had enough of that, you're going to settle back in at that pubic symphysis. Your backside a jiggle. Toes curled under, pressing back through your heels, legs nice and straight. Shoulders down away from your ears, belly pulled in. Breathe. And then drop your knees, elbow walk. Pull your belly up, pull your ribs up, elbow walk. Back to your child's pose. Big toes together, knees apart, hips back over your heels. Foam roller out in front of you. And just melt your heart down. And then lift your heart back up. Have the pinky finger, blade edge of your hand, and arm on the edge of that foam roller as you push out and pull in. Again, keep those tickle muscles engaged. Belly pulled in like you're getting tickled. Front ribs tucked in like you're getting tickled. And you are in charge of how far back you are on your heels. Sometimes you want to come up a little bit more off your heels. Get even more chest hang. That's up to you. If you've got your hips in the air and your chest melting down through your arms, do have your thumbs pointing up. That will help position your shoulders in a safer position. So the more you can give me that thumbs up as you shift weight forward, the better for your shoulders. Absolutely optional. You don't have to be doing that stuff at all. You can stay back here and do the lighter, less intense version. You're going for a nice forearm rub. And then I'm on it. It is downward facing dog time once again. Think about rotating your arms as much as you possibly can, so that that area you just massaged, the pinky finger blade edge of the arm, rotates down towards the ground. Almost like you're trying to do down dog on the pinky finger blade edges of your hands, but that's impossible. So you have your palms down, but you want to have that pinky finger blade edge of the arm tucked in, narrow towards the floor. So it might help spread your fingers, turn your fingers out to the sides a little bit, maybe put a micro bend to the elbows and swing those elbows in narrow, almost like you're going to bend your elbows down to the ground. Let your head hang. Take your dog for a walk. And walk your feet all the way up to your hands. Take that foam roller with you. Park that foam roller at the end of your mat. Stand close to it. Both hands on that foam roller. Again, pinky fingers wrapped down towards the ground, thumbs up. Standing close to the foam roller, take a giant step back with your right foot. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle that right heel back, 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 back. Maybe take that front foot, wiggle it a little bit wider. You're going to work on pulling both legs straight. Hands at the top of that foam roller, thumbs pointing up. Think about tipping that foam roller, walking that foam roller away and tipping it away. Trying to create a very flat tabletop surface with your back. Tipping the leading edge of that foam roller away. And then soften both knees, bring that foam roller back and stand up. Shuffle, switch sides. And there's length between your feet, and you're brave. You're taking a big step back and width. Maybe wiggle that front foot a little bit wider. And pulling both legs straight, you're going to work that foam roller out in front of you as far as it will go, and then tip the edge of it away. And for a nice flat back. And then find your front ribs, find your belly. Bring that foam roller back towards you, step forward. And we're going to go wide. Take your feet very wide. Foam roller out in front. Toes turn in, heels turn out. Toes turn in, heels turn out. Take that foam roller out in front of you as far as it will go. And again, tip the leading edge of it away. Going for as flat a back as you can. So thumbs are pointing up. You're on the pinky fingers of your hands. Thumbs pointing up. Front ribs pull up into your body. No saggy chest. Knees unlocked. Getting really long. And bend your knees. Bring that foam roller back. Oh, heck, since we're standing up, let's just turn this into a triangle pose. Turn all 10 toes to the right. Foam roller on the outside of that right foot. Shoulders up, back, and down. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, pull your tummy and drop your shoulders down. Then you're going to tip over, pushing that foam roller out and as far out to the side as you can get it. Tip the end of it away, getting very, very long. And you reach down and pull your belly up off the ground. Drop your bottom shoulder down away from your ear. Shrug that bottom shoulder down away from your ear. Maybe turn your chest open a little bit more. And then come all the way up. And let's switch sides. So pivot your feet. Again, your feet are as wide apart as your outstretched arms, ankles underneath this. Foam roller in your left hand, outside your left foot. Inhale, right arm up. Exhale, drop your shoulders down. And begin to stretch, 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 stretch. Push that foam roller out as far as it will go. And then when it won't go any further, tip the end of it away. Top hand can reach around to help lift your belly up. Shrug that bottom shoulder away from your ears. Turn your chest open a little bit more. And then come all the way back up. All right. Going back to our pyramid pose. So once again, foam roller at the end of the mat. Standing close to it, take a giant step back with that right foot. Wiggle that right heel back, 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 back. Walk that foam roller out as far as it will go, 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 go. Tip the leading edge of it away, away, away. Think about wrapping those armpits around towards your face. Even lifting armpits away from the ground to crawl your fingers further forward. Thumbs are up, pinky fingers are down. For fun, breathe. Keep breathing. And soften your knees, bring that foam roller back. Step forward, step back, switch sides. Then length with width between the feet. Pushing that foam roller out as far as it will go, tipping the leading edge of it away. Wrapping your armpits around towards your face, thumbs point up, pinky fingers point down. Armpits lift away from the ground. Breathing. Pull your tummy in, pull that foam roller in, step forward, and then step wide. Step your feet nice and wide, toes turn in, heels turn out. Foam roller out in front of you once again. Knees unlocked, buns up towards the sun as you push that foam roller out as far as it will go. Again, thumbs are up, pinky fingers are down. Armpits, front ribs are lifted like you're getting tickled from below. And get nice and long through your side body. Soft knees. Foam roller down to the ground, hands down to the ground. Step your feet back into your downward facing dog. Oh. And then bend your knees down to the ground. All right, we're gonna sit on this foam roller. And you're gonna put your sit bones, one on either side. You're gonna sit on it between the cheeks. And look at my crotch. It is right there between the sit bones. And I'm pulling the flesh away from the bones as much as I can so that it is making good contact with the insides of my sit bones. A couple of blocks or cushions nearby. If you need to prop your knees up a little bit or stabilize yourself from wiggling, go ahead and put those in place. Shoulders up, back, and down. Repeat, palms forward, shoulder shrug, inhale up. Exhale, back and down. One more time, great big shoulder shrug, great big yawn. Inhale up. Exhale, back and down. Inhale, both arms up. And exhale. Release. Once again, inhale, both arms up. This time as you exhale, drop that right hand down. Reach up through that left arm. Armpit turns towards your face, like you're checking for deodorant. Lengthen up through that pinky finger, really nice and long. At the same time, root down through your sit bones. And then come over into a side stretch. Push into the bottom hand to push out those top ribs. Anchor down through the bottom hand to push out through the top ribs. Find your front ribs. Imagine somebody started to tickle you in the front ribs and your reaction would be, no! Drive that elbow across. Round your back. You can even hold onto that knee. Push into the bottom hand. Pull back on that knee and lean into that spot between or underneath your left shoulder blade. You do that and relax your butt cheeks. And release. Oh, butt cheeks spread out. Good stable base here. Knees on blocks, keep yourself from wiggling all over the place. Shoulders up, back and down. Inhale, both arms up. Exhale, release that left hand down. Hand can be on the block or on the floor. Reach up to that right arm. Turn that armpit towards your face, like you're checking for deodorant. Pinky finger facing forward, lengthening up through that pinky finger, and then tipping over into a side stretch. Push into that bottom hand, to puff out your right side ribs. Breathe it. In a moment, if you're ticklish, you're going to be really good at pulling in those front ribs, driving that elbow across your body. So get ready. Get tickled. Inhale. And as you exhale, fend that attack off. Take hold of the knee. Keep pushing that left hand into the floor and back up into that right shoulder. As you back up into that right shoulder blade, relax your butt. And release. All right. I'm going to swing both legs over to the left. So I flipped one leg. I took this leg and I flipped it backwards. Reach back, rearrange. You end up with the right foot near the left knee. Left big toe is pointing back behind you. So scooch it in narrow, point straight back behind you. Again, you're sitting with that foam roller between your sit bones. Locate your right shoulder, shoulder shrug, hitchhike up, back, and down. Bring that hand behind you like a kickstand. Inhale, sweep up with your left arm. Find your front ribs, find your tummy, get tickled. And as you exhale, pull that tummy in. Slouch a little bit, lean into your shoulder blades. Bring that hand across your body. Elbows are bent, you're still slouching, pulling in, tucking in your front ribs as you turn a little bit further. And see what's going on behind you. Look over that right shoulder. Now, can you relax your butt? Let your sit bones mold over that foam roller. And unwind. Now flip the legs the other way. Tuck that right big toe in. Make sure that foam roller is centered, dead center between your sit bones. Level sit bones, more or less. Left foot near the right knee, right big toe tucked in behind you. Left shoulder shrug up, back and down. Right arm up. Exhale, pull in your front ribs, pull in your belly, take that arm diagonal across. You're still tucking in your front ribs, leaning into your shoulder blades. Turning, turning, turning to see what's going on behind. And hopefully those sit bones feel well supported and you are able to relax your butt. And then unwind. All right, I'm going to tip forward. Come off that foam roller for just a split second. We're going to go for a pigeon pose. So we just really massage or put some good pressure into the inside of the sit bones. And now we're going to kind of hit one more time everything on the outside of those sit bones. So foam roller out in front of you. We'll tuck that right knee. We'll put the right knee on that foam roller. Slide that shin forward. Back toes curled under. You can power that back leg up and play around with rolling up and down. Massage that shin a little bit. Do a little ab work. You can also consider putting that foam roller underneath that right sit bone. I'm doing a more upright version of your pigeon pose. Let me try and give you a slightly better angle on that one. So take that right knee, slide it forward enough that this ankle falls off the front. And now that foam roller is underneath that right sit bone. Your hips are well supported. Back toes can curl under. Think about pushing this left hip forward, maybe pulling the right thigh bone backward. I pulled the right thigh bone backward, rolling that left hip pocket down to the mat. Back toes curl under. Abs pull in. Reach for the sky, king pigeon pose. Armpits turn towards your face, chest lifted up. Breathing. Imagine a crown on your head. Raja Kapotasana, Royal King Pigeon Pose. And then release. You need to do the other side. The bad news is you got to get out of this first side first. So whatever way works for you. And repeat the whole thing again, this time with the left leg in front. So we'll start with just that little bit of outer knee shin rolling. Loosening up the hip here, getting it used to the situation. Also giving yourself a little foam roller massage. The outside of the knee. And then when you've had enough of that, I'm gonna let that left leg come over top. And that foam roller tucks in at that left sit bone. Right toes curl under, right leg works in towards midline. And you're working to square your hips forward, pulling that left hip back. Pulling your left hip back, letting the right hip pocket dump its pocket change onto the mat. Belly pulls in nice and tight, back toes curled under, everything's still engaged. Work it if you like. And you might consider coming all the way up for your Royal King Pigeon Pose. Maybe eventually you reach back, take hold of that foot, and you crown yourself, putting the arch of the foot onto the top of your head. And then when you've had enough of that, you've had enough of that. And then you want to gracefully bail out, as gracefully as you can. We're going to make our way down to the ground. Foam roller will be underneath your knees. Pillow can go underneath your head. Tennis balls can go underneath your booty butt. You can tuck those tennis balls in underneath your glutes. Foam roller can go right into your knee pits. Settle in your upper body, relax your neck, your jaw, make sure you have enough pillow going on. You've been there for 3 or 4 breaths. Those butt muscles have started to release. Now, if you want more intensity, you can bring your feet up onto that foam roller. Just having your feet elevated on that foam roller gives you a little bit more pelvic thrust tilt, a little bit more pelvic thrust tilt, and you can play around with maybe working those tennis balls up to the very top of your butt cheeks. So you still want to be underneath hip bone. You don't want to be in your waist. You want to be underneath the hip bone at the very top of the butt cheek. And I'm rocking from side to side because I don't think I can stay there solid for much time at all. But rocking side to side, each time I rock from side to side, I move the ball out a little bit wider. I'm going all the way across the hip ridge. The tops, just below the tops of the hip bones. All the way out to those side hip pockets. And again, doing this with your feet elevated helps you to maintain a little bit more of that pelvic thrust tilt. And when you have tenderized that flank steak, there's nothing left between you and the ball. Backside is completely been pulverized, tenderized. Then you might consider bringing your knees in, setting the balls aside, giving those knees a hug. Really spread your backside out like you mean it. And then coming to neutral, once again, feet go on that foam roller. Take your feet about as wide apart as the foam roller. So you've got one foot on either end. Again, this helps you maintain that little pelvic thrust, tilt a little bit more, your lower back stays flatter on the ground. You don't have to hold your legs in space though. Your feet are supported, your leg muscles can be a little bit more relaxed as you tick-tock your knees side to side. Think about dropping the inner knee down. Drop the inner knee down. You might find that you start to lift up one hip, poke out one hip bone, and then switch. Feel free to play with that. If, when you've had enough of that, you can consider putting the bottoms of your feet together for Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana, supine, bound angle pose, or sleeping butterfly. You can have that foam roller under your ankles, under somewhere your calves, or maybe under the knees. Find a nice position. Putting that foam roller underneath your knees in this Baddha Konasana supports both knees absolutely evenly. It's probably one of the most restful variations of this Supta Baddha Konasana. Shrug your shoulders underneath. Hitchhike your thumbs down to the mat. Wiggle your jaw. Stretch your face. Even yawn.